Hey, it is Saturday, the 9th of September, and we are going to be putting more money into Bertha. I'm going to buy with Bertha, but I'm going to put it in my wallet. We are actually going to put a BT, bank tellers, 40-minute video that everybody should have listened to. If not, then definitely the people that have followed me listen to this video. It's an audio actually, but I'll just keep the chart up or something like that, so it doesn't get too boring. But just listen to it. You don't have to watch the video anymore. Just listen to all the things coming up, all the things that he's said. He's pretty brilliant. You could tell just listening to him. But I'm excited for what is to come. So let's get into the purchase here. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit buy with Bertha and click on buy, and then I'm going to put 88 in there. That'll buy me 45 billion more. And of course, the first thing you do, it looks like it was going to approve me for 87.8, so that I had some fees in there to cover. And there it popped up, 223 billion. We're at 0.045% now. Whoa, that popped up immediately. Awesome. Okay, so there we go. My 8.5% fee was taken off of that, and I am set for another couple of days here. What I'm going to do is just put on the audio for BT, and I think I'll just keep up the chart here just for everyone to watch, or if you're going to be watching. Look at that nice pop. I think that was just my pop right now that I just bought, because it was down here when I first started, not liking what was going on in there in the last couple hours. All right, here is BT, and we will see you guys on Monday or Tuesday. Have a good one. Bye.
Just wanted to put this out here. There's a lot of yield farms popping up all over the place. I encourage anyone who's interested in those things to do some research. And simply what I would encourage you to do is look at the APRs that were popping up in YouTube videos. Look at the APRs when they're doing the first interview. Look at the APRs now, a week later, days later. Those APRs are dropping like rocks. We provide consistent APRs that hold their value or only go up. We don't have yield erosion. When you have yield erosion, it means that it takes longer and longer for people to get a return on investment. At the same time, risk is growing. Also, when you see these yield farms popping up and they're talking about partnership this, partnership that, realize that's risk. You know, that's a ton of smart contract risk. That's a ton of depending on people who haven't been doing this that long to integrate with their systems and this and that. There's a lot of people. So a lot of times you'll hear people promoting platforms, and they're actually not doing the coding. They actually don't necessarily have, oversight of the entire process. Now, the bigger you get, sure. But did Satoshi need a whole team of people to code up the first version of Bitcoin? What's the delta between what Satoshi released and what we're running now for Bitcoin? Guess what? Not much. A lot less lines of code than the difference between when Elephant was released and the 50 smart contracts later. So tell me again if one person can't change the world. Now, the point is that at this early stage of DeFi, the most valuable products are going to be the immutable products. The products that just exist on chain and just work. You know, if somebody wants to take over a zillion different blockchains, more power to you, but that's a lot of risk. Where's all the hacks happening? On the bridges, on the intersection between one blockchain and the next. Why? Because there's a ton of untrusted code at that intersection. There's code that has to run off chain at that intersection. So I encourage you guys to, it's okay to look at other opportunities. I do that myself. But what I'm saying is keep your eyes on the prize. Realize that a lot of these yield farms that are popping up, these are acts of desperation. The yield is actually not generated yield. The majority of the yield is just being printed out of thin air. Even if it's supplemented with fees, still printed out of thin air. I'm not talking about any particular yield farm in general. I'm just saying that there are tons of new blockchains, and the easiest thing for any junior team to do is spin up a clone of Uniswap or PancakeSwap or Goose Finance or Tomb. The list goes on and on. So know what you're looking at when you see it. Understand that by the time you hear these promoters talk about these platforms, the super juicy yields that you could have gotten the first 2 days are already gone. You'll get in, and then the yields will continue to drop precipitously and below 100% to whatever natural, real yield the system can provide. When the emissions dry out and all you're left with is a low volume platform without a lot of fees. On the contrary, Elephant Money has the highest fees in the industry. Let me say it again. Elephant Money has the highest fees in the industry, which cap out about 10%. Why am I proud about that? Because for a 10% fee, you get access to the best performing asset, growth asset in the world. That's not expensive. I will sign up for that again and again. That's what drives our fee capture. I am very tempted to, by the way, instead of putting tax everywhere, the 10% tax on transfer, we have to normalize our language too. We're in an industry that's growing. We are the pioneers. Is it a tax or is it a fee? It's not a tax. If anything, at the base of our financial cooperative, it's a 10% fee. It's the cost of admission. It's not a tax, it's a fee. It's literally the fee we charge each other. It's how we pay each other going in and out. The longer you hold and stay in position within the cooperative, the more you avoid those fees. The more you draw from the system, the more you have to entertain those fees. If you're on the front end office in our NFTs or in futures, or Stampede, you 100% get to avoid the fees because you're creating the value. You're creating value. You're generating those buybacks, which drive everything. And you're handsomely rewarded for that with yield, with real yield, which is generated from those 10% fees on the back end. Not taxes. There will be a wiki-wide update. Um, that is the real yield. The real yield for the front end office is generated by the 10% fees on the back end, on Elephant. Literally, and I'm not making this stuff up. This has always been the understanding in the industry. Uniswap has a function to support these types of smart contracts. It's not called a tax. It's called fee on transfer. Literally, there's functions support fee on transfer tokens. Swap ETH for fee on transfer tokens. That's the name of the function on the router to swap tokens. So it's always been fees. As a matter of fact, tax might have just come from the community and then adopted by me. I think I used to call things a tax before Uniswap was even invented. I think that was the thing. Before Uniswap was invented, I was like, okay, what is this? It's like, oh, it's a tax. Your tokens are taxed, and that was on smart contracts that existed before the AMM model. But now we got to normalize. Is it a tax or is it a fee? It's not a tax. It's not a tax on revenue or anything like that. It's a fee. It's how the protocol captures value. That's what value capture looks like. You capture value with fees. And because of those fees, the fees alone cover the liabilities. So the dominant amount of input and growth gets to grow in free and clear because we're with just the fees alone we're being able to cover our liabilities. Now, can every platform charge 10% fees? Of course not. We had to earn the right to collect those 10% fees, and that's through the Lindy effect. It's because we're still around. It's because we've survived exploits. So here's another thing. A lot of these JV League teams, they were like, oh, we never suffered an exploit. Well, you haven't been around long enough to suffer an exploit. You haven't been at the top of the hill where everyone's gunning for you. You haven't been tested. So saying you haven't had any struggles is frankly bullshit. How interesting would it be if Superman never lost? How interesting would it be if every foe presented to Superman folded? No. Gets his ass kicked on a regular basis. These stories are based in reality. That's what life looks like. To get good at winning, you got to lose. To be strong, you have to be tested. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. When bones break, they heal back stronger. When muscle is ripped to shreds, it grows back stronger. So, teams that have been operating for a little bit, great. No exploits. Great. Curve got exploited. You know how many of those people used to give me grief? There's tons of blue chip protocols that have suffered some exploit or another. Right? Right? Look at Gala Games. They're a premier Web3 company in gaming, media. The two founders can't stand each other. And they're ripping the community apart. People who are in the V1 token, including myself, can't cash out. Value destruction because two people can't get along together. I work as hard as I can to be done with this thing. In Satoshi style fashion, get this shit done, get it deployed to the blockchain, and let the community prosper. Put it in 100% in the hands of the community. Make sure this thing works for the lifetime of the blockchain. That's it. No dependencies, nothing fancy smancy, no blockchain interoperability, no bullshit. Not being ageist here, but 20-something-year-olds, 30-something-year-olds with fucking huge egos who want to buy the fucking Lambo, don't know anything about supporting family, could care less about children, could care less about community. All it is for them to stroke their ego and grow their personal wealth. Screw all that. I'm here to build this thing and to help it grow. That's my end game. I'm in end game for me. This is what I'm doing. I don't aspire to do anything else. This is it. What's more important to helping people put food on the table? You tell me. And I refuse to let ego, personal agendas get in the way of any of that. Many people in the volunteer community who do a lot of great work for Elephant, this and that. And they're like, this is great. I'm getting all this notoriety for this or that. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm like, we're not even out of recovery yet. Focus. What does Ed say? Focus. Yes, we bring tons of talent to the table. We leverage each other's work. In a true decentralized fashion. I'm not the boss of anybody. Everyone decides to do this or not do this. We recently increased the performance fund, restored it back to its former glory. It's going to grow proportional to the success of the platform. 1% APR on the treasury, just like all other governance contracts. Now we have something that's going to, help us proportionally scale our marketing efforts, proportionally scale our bounties, proportionally scale additional software development that needs to happen so we can get it done faster, all of those things. And the majority of that is just going to be on the UI UX. It's just going to be in UI UX. I'm pretty sure I am very, very, very close to throwing away these goddamn keys. I am very, very close to throwing away these keys. We have Performance Fund V2, which is fixed at $15,000 per month. We have Performance Fund V3, which goes back to the model of Performance Fund V1, except that the payout is directly in Elephant, 1% APR versus being paid out in Trunk. The first performance fund was paid out in Trunk, and that was great. And then it scaled based on the Trunk treasury, and that was great when Trunk was pegged. So, and the 1% APR, by the way, it works like every responsible governance contract. So for the variable, V3 fund, it's 1% APR. It pays out based on lapse time, but it caps out 24 hours. So after 24 hours, it doesn't grow anymore. So like say if it paid out $1,000 a day, it would stop at $1,000. And if 3 days go by, the max it'll pay out until next claim is $1,000. Now I made it so that it's a community activated, so anybody can press that sweep function, and the funds will go where they're meant to go. So I designed a contract so that I could throw away the keys to the network. I could still maintain ownership of just that one governance contract to be able to update the destination. So the cool thing about that is that as custodian, I could set the destination, but have that destination be like, for example, a contract that's controlled by a multi-sig. And, we could have people on the multi-sig eventually figure out what to do with those funds once we get past a certain point, right? And then we could eventually just throw away the ownership contract, and then just have people on the then just maintain the multi-sig, and or give ownership of the performance V3 fund to a multi-sig. But either way, we have flexibility in terms of ownership of the performance V3 fund, which is 1% of the 1% of the treasury. We'll be able to scale to do big things. We want to have Taylor Swift at frickin' the Elephant Financial Fest, or whatever we want to call it. We could do that. So I'm thinking for the future. And one of the things is, how do you responsibly scale operations to support something that is as big and as important as elephant money, without putting elephant money at risk? And the way you do that is through governance contracts, through allocation. What is a reasonable allocation? I am super conservative. Everything that has been built on a way of approaching finance that makes sense and is cohesive. There is no need to over allocate when a simple 10x changes the game. When a simple 10x changes the game, what it means is, if we say we had a 10% APR, 10% APR is huge. 10% APR is a tremendous impact if 10% APR is being taken out of the treasury. That's just way too much if you're trying to grow. If you're trying to grow the treasury. So I'm simply saying, if you 10x the size of the treasury, it feels like doing a 10% APR now in terms of what you're taking out. So just be more successful. And because of the core math, the core engineering at the heart of our system, the easiest thing for us to do is to focus on growth of the herd, grow participation. We'll easily get the 10x, the 100x that's coming from just simple user growth. So that's what we do. So we have conservative APRs for everything, and we let those things just run. Flywheels for everything at 1% APR for the various departmental functions within our community bank. But we keep them locked at 1% and very, very conservative. So you imagine the infrastructure, the people, the capital that simply runs a JP Morgan. We're not talking about the assets under management. We're talking about the billions spent just to operate. That's what 1% of the Treasury will get you. It gets you $1 billion organization with $1 billion budget. So that's where we're going with that. That's the thinking behind that. So yeah, we're gonna, $10 million budget on $1 billion treasury, not bad. Not bad at all. $10 million going out to NFTs, right? Not bad at all. And we just grow from there. We just grow those budgets from there. But the main thing is we're keeping the value in the treasury for the majority of participants to do with as they see fit. I am going to remove the temptation, the poor planning, the greed. No one after me will decide that, selling elephant out of the treasury, just pulling it out and selling it, that's a good idea. I've never considered that idea. The only time I've ever had to pull elephant out of the treasury like that was at the time of the exploit. Was the only time ever. That will never happen. Bertha is the whale that will not dump on you. Bertha exists 100% on chain. Her decision making is immutable. She can grow new skills through governance contracts, but that skill set is about to get locked down. So there's changes that need to be made. There's the performance V1. I'm going to keep that. It's going to be just a default, $15,000 a month. That's what it is now. That's what we've been paying for the past couple of months. There was a period of time where there was no performance fund. The old one was decommissioned, and the new one didn't exist. And frankly, I was paying for everything out of pocket. I went from 4 trillion in my personal holdings down to 500 billion, keeping the lights on. That will be corrected in due time. That the main focus is to get these marketing efforts firing on all cylinders. And that's where a majority of funds will be allocated. What else? What else do we have out there? So we cover the performance fund. So I will the code has been pushed for that. I'm adding work in the UI so that anybody can execute the performance fund, because as you know, it's after 24 hours it doesn't release funds anymore. So this basically pays out to custody. I make sure it gets to where it needs to go. Custody as it stands right now, in terms of business continuity planning, will eventually transition to a foundation that I'll form. So that work is coming. So that work is in flight right now. So there will be a foundation which will take over management of making sure that the front end is updated, making sure that the marketing team is compensated, making sure that things are consistent with the vision that I've laid out, and I'll be the head of that until in the ground. Just how these things work. So, but the core meat and potatoes of the protocol will all just be revoked, except for this performance fund, which can tap into 1% of the value of Bertha. So the main thing that we have to focus on now is removing BUSD from the main flow of operations. So BUSD would be removed from the main flow of operations. I would almost argue, it should be very clear to see that we're already in parabolic territory. So we will continue to push 100% against BUSD and against BNB to get as much elephant out of the liquidity pools as possible. Then we could potentially cut over 100% to BNB. Let natural arbitrage take care of BUSD, but not pay any special attention to it. It'll just perform as a basic backstop and place to get an expensive elephant. So I'm suspecting that especially as we push parabolically, like in a YOLO fashion against BNB 100%, when the whole platform has guns directed at BNB, guess what happens? We go super parabolic in the BNB chart, and the BUSD chart is pulled up. So for as long as BUSD is relevant, it will get naturally arbitraged up until if it becomes irrelevant, then it'll still get naturally arbitraged up, because as BUSD goes to like say 1 cent, 10 cent, whatever it's supposed to be, if it's like a couple years out and not supported, guess what? It makes it easier to get all that elephant out, and the last of that elephant gets super parabolic in price. It will all balance out. That is the nature of arbitrage. That is the nature of these liquidity pools. They all balance out if they have sufficient liquidity. So we have, for example, a couple of rogue liquidity pools set up by different people that show up on some user interfaces, like on Bog, that shows up. Even though they get no volume, but they show up. They get no volume. So a liquidity pool that has price or liquidity doesn't make sense, it just gets no volume. So that'll just be the case with BUSD. So all we have to do is just make sure we rip it out. We stop referencing it in our smart contracts, and then we're good. So that's how that works. So that's about it for now. And once again, I encourage everyone to check out futures and get into futures. Be careful chasing high yields. They disappear overnight. For people who are new, those yields disappear overnight. Check out a video on some new platform that you heard about. Check out the first video and what the yields were then versus what they are now. Those yields erode overnight. TVL can go up, yields go down. That's how these things work. TVL go up, yields go down, price go down, TVL go down. That's the general trend of all these things. That's why many new chains, when they spark a whole bunch of these yield farms and things, it's all gangbusters, and it's really the experienced DeFi people participating in pre-sales, taking the money from the Johnny-come-latelys that find out about it through an overhyped AMA or something that some YouTuber gets paid to post. Shit, we're going to be doing that. We're going to be paying people to talk about elephant. Rightfully so, though. They should be talking about elephant. If they really cared about the community, and if they really were as smart as they portray themselves to be, even though half of them aren't even builders, then they would be up on game, and they would know the elephant was crushing it without having being told that by CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. You can use tools. If you use the tools are out there, Dex Screener, Dex tools, to find protocols that have the most liquidity, to find protocols that have consistent price growth. You can find us if you use Dex tools, Dex Screener properly. You don't have to be told what is in the top 100. You don't have to be told what has the most liquidity. So are these guys that you're following on YouTube and other media, are they really gurus if they're not talking about elephant? Are they really unbiased if they're not talking about elephant? It's fun to play with things, you know, but keep your eyes on the prize. Make sure that you have your financial future locked in. Elephant is the best performing asset of 2022, 2023, looks like, you know, and we're about to take off. We're going, you know, we were growing at 0.8% since January in terms of price appreciation. That's better than any ROI DAP. That's better than most yield farms. We're in the 1% to 2% range now, and we're about to enter the solid 2 to 3% and then beyond. And that's happening very fast. We are entering the 40 cents per million. We're only 10 cents off from 51 and going to 51 to 56 cents per million, which is all-time high. Not far away. Not far away. We're 19 cents away, and we're covering these cents very fast. Very fast. And if you just do each one, teach one, if you just stay the course, let me run a few ads, it's going to go gangbusters. So you need to get locked in. You need to know how futures works. Futures you can get in at any time, but it's important to use because when we hit that 10x, maybe shave off 10%. When we hit that 20x, maybe shave off 10%. When we hit that 50x, shave off 20% of your position and put them into futures and into the NFTs, and we will run this industry. How? The right way. We're not telling anybody what to do. We're providing services that have been curated for the people, by the people. We've had tons of input for the people, by the people. Trial and error over 6 years, over 3 blockchains, over 25 years of fintech and institutional finance experience to get to something that doesn't need a ton of partnerships, that doesn't need integration with all these blockchains. Get your funds to BNB chain and have fun. Binance, as much as the US and all the fat cats running these banks would like to have it, they're not the big dog in DeFi. They're not the big dog in crypto, and they hate that. They want to destroy CZ. They want his business to go the way of the dodo bird. And you know what? They can't do it. They can't do it without murder. So it's not going to happen. And on a mass scale. CZ runs his Twitter account. That's it. He doesn't run anything. At this point, he has opinions. He provides guidance. But he doesn't run anything. He has people to run it. He's invested all these years to build a business. And frankly, Binance hasn't been running that much longer than the Bankroll Network and this whole community here at Elephant Money. Maybe he's got a year on us. So yeah, we're not going anywhere, and hopefully, with the performance fund, one of the things that I want to focus on, the CZ is very poor. One of his, I think, one of Binance and CZ's failings is they never work. They don't understand that you need to own the ink. These major conglomerates, these large businesses, the Berkshires of the world, the Amazons of the world, DCGs of the world, the BlackRocks of the world, they own media. They own the conversation. They can make Bitcoin go from villain to hero overnight. We've seen it. From villain to hero overnight, we've seen it. From ESG, an enemy of ESG, to, oh, Bitcoin's ESG friendly. Bitcoin, clean energy. Wherever you find Bitcoin miners, you find clean energy. Of course, that's not 100% true, but they can bend the narrative. Yes, a lot of large-scale Bitcoin operations, especially in the West, it's built on clean energy because it has to be. There are a lot of market forces out there that make it really stupid to do it any other kind of way. So that's where we are. All right, so I hope somebody actually, there's a lot of upstarts out there, a lot of you YouTuber upstarts. I encourage all of you for this particular post, please download it, convert it to video, get it out there on YouTube, get it indexed. So when people are searching elephant, this pops up. This covers a lot and covers a lot about where we are right now, where we're going. Where we're going is long-term, just sort of lockdown mode. Elephant Money is a complete product. Think about it's the Bitcoin of decentralized finance. It's going to be an immutable protocol on the BNB chain. It provides services that mimic annuities, real estate with the unlimited NFT collection, annuities with Stampede and futures. And what else? Yeah, it's go time.